Setting Trick listeners, we have a very special guest for you today. The winner of the Mott-Smith Trophy at the recent Spring North American Bridge Championships, a 3-time North American champion, the best bridge player in Charlottesville, Virginia, my friend, Greg Humphreys.
Hey, John.
Hi, Greg.
How you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. I'm doing well, thanks. You have a very high-quality camera, I can see.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in video calls, and so at some point I decided I would get I have an actual, SLR camera instead of a webcam. So.
What I was going through just in preparing for this interview, I saw that you had updated the Mott-Smith Wikipedia page because you won it with your 291.24 master points.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like to see yourself on that page with Paul Soloway, Bobby, and Steve? What was it like to put your name up there with those guys?
It's unreal. I also learned, I think on Bridge Winner, somebody mentioned that it's the only time someone had managed to win the Mott-Smith without entering the Vanderbilt, just from pair stuff. Yeah, it's unbelievable. I feel like I turned a corner, I think, in my bridge game, and it all culminated in being on the setting trick, right, which is every bridge player's dream.
You were talking to your to Gavin Wolpert, who was our first guest today, and I said, please hold this for when we're recording. What you were saying about the Rubicon?
Yeah, I feel like I've made it. I mean, it's funny because the reason I was talking to Gavin is, Gavin and I I've known Gavin for a long time and we used to work together, but Gavin is a world-class bridge player, and he taught me a lot about bridge. But he reached out to me to ask if I would be interested in commentating with him on the trials. And I was just like, wow, like what a cool ask. But then I was like, yeah, but I mean, I'll do it, but I'm on the setting trick. So I've already, I was already like, that was the big deal.
Are you going to do the trials commentary on Twitch? Is that the plan?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, our conversation was a little light on details and more just figuring out if we had the time, but I imagine it would be on Twitch, yeah.
You said you turned the corner. Are you serious about that? I mean, like your results in, okay, so you did a Bridge Winners Well. You were the subject of the Bridge Winners Well a year ago.
Yeah.
And in that well, you said that, like, at that point you'd won one of the mixed pairs with Jenni, and then you at the spring NABC in March of 22, you won the fast pairs with Adam Parrish, and then you were in the well, and there was a question about your kind of level of expertise, I think, and You said that you had never gotten to day 3 of a big pair game.
That's true. And
now, at this most recent spring NABC, you get not only to the finals of the Platinum Pairs, but you finish 3rd.
Yeah. Yeah, playing bridge this year and last year, I think to some extent, just feels different than it ever did. I've been playing bridge for at least 20 years. I think I started in 1998, so whatever that math, 25 years. And it just feels really qualitatively different now. Certain things that used to require a lot of effort are now more second nature, and that frees up your mind to do a lot of other things that I used to, you would post more to my hand and say, oh, I didn't think about that because my mental energy was focused on other stuff that is now much more automatic. And I think that is a transition that happens many times in bridge players' progression. I imagine there are more of these to come for me, I hope. But, I mean, when you first start playing bridge, it is a monumental effort just to count the hand, right? How many cards does everybody have in this? Oh, that wasn't trump, so I wasn't counting it. How many did I even start with, right? And you're doing it on every hand, and your results suffer for it. And then at some point, hopefully that becomes a little bit more automatic, and you start to focus your effort on other things. And I really felt like I could feel that happening this past year, which has been a really cool feeling. It makes me wonder how many more times it happens. I'm very keenly aware that really, really, really good, like the best bridge players, think about hands very differently from everyone else. And so when I feel myself starting to think about hands differently, I wonder, like, how many more times does this have to happen before, it doesn't happen anymore? I think if you ask them, they would probably tell you that it never stops happening. But it's a really cool feeling.
Like the results what do you think's your best result?
Best result ever.
Because you've got third in the Platinum Pairs, which is a 3-day, arguably the toughest pair event in the world. You've won the Fast Pairs. You've won the Mixed Pairs twice. Yeah. Like, what do you think?
I think third in the Platinum Pairs has got to be the biggest result. I think coming third in that event is a bigger result than winning the mixed. I have to apologize to Jenni. We're like 5 minutes into this, and I'm already diminishing our accomplishments in that thing. Now, that being said, I know Jenni had a conversation, I think, with Chris Valenkin about this, that our consistency in that event is probably has got to be a contender for that as well, because we have come first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and ninth. And then there was 1 year where we were nowhere. But we don't talk about that year. But, like that, we're just very consistent in this event. And the mixed pairs is a bit of a weird event because there are very few established mixed partnerships. And so there are a lot of opportunities for good results that might not present themselves in other places. I also observed, I thought I had observed this over the years, and I went looking for it this year, and I sort of confirmed my hypothesis that the men in the mixed partnerships tend to operate a lot. And the way that this manifests itself most, I think, is that they hate defending. And so they'll just bid one more in a competitive auction in a situation where they have no business taking another call, right? Completely describe their hand, no extra anything. They're like, I don't want to defend. And so they'll just bid one more, and boom, then Jenni drops the hammer on them, and they go for 200, and they're just like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Oh, sorry, partner. I had a fifth trump in the suit I opened. Yeah, no kidding. It happens a lot. It's really wild. But yeah, no, the Platinum Pairs. If I had to pick a single result, I think it would be that. We also Jenni and I also made the final day of the World Open Pairs in Philadelphia, which we got in through sort of the side door, where at the end of at the middle they separate the field into like an A group and a B group.
Oh yeah.
And then the top two pairs in the B group get funneled back into the A group for the finals, and we got in that way. But whatever, we were one of the 50 best pairs in the world that year.
The top two from the B final get back in.
Yeah, it's like a repechage. I don't know what that's called, but that was really fun. That was a really fun event.
Well, the fact that you won the mixed pairs this year, like on top of the Platinum Pairs finish, I was in New Orleans playing in the tournament, and I saw you on the first day. I think you were leading the Platinum Pairs after the first day, and I was like, wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And then, or maybe the first session, I don't know.
We had a really good first session.
And then to like be third overall, and then back it up with a win, and then back it up with a top 5 in the 2-day Silodor Pairs.
Mm-hmm.
And then like it was like you were leading the Fast Pairs.
Oh yeah.
After three or four sessions.
Well, we had a huge qualifying day. We kind of wasted it all on the qualifying day, and then our third set in the Fast Pairs was a little above average, but not very good, and we were still leading, but not by much. And then we just completely collapsed in the final set. We were having key card accidents, and like there were revokes, and it was not a great set. But we were still, still enough to. I think we were like 18th or 17th or something. Yeah, so it's funny how like that sort of thing colors your impression of the whole thing, because you would think that I would go and see, because the fast pairs finishes really early, right?
Yeah.
And so now I'm thinking, well, I still have a shot at it, but I'm now sweating the results of the Swiss, which takes forever. And so I'm out at dinner and like frantically refreshing the. I went out to dinner with some friends of ours who were not bridge players, and so they're watching me like frantically refreshing my phone, trying to see what's going on in the Swiss. They don't know what a Swiss is, and I'm trying to explain to them, and they just have no idea. Eventually, we came back to the hotel to see, and when I realized that I think there were a couple of pairs that could have caught up. But they didn't. They would have needed to win the Swiss or come second or something. And when they didn't, you'd think there would be like a big yay. But really, all I was thinking about was like, man, I played like crap in the last set of the fast pairs. The same thing happened in 2016. Jenni and I ran away with the mixed that year. We were like wire to wire, and then we got our picture taken, and we ran down to the midnight game. Right, we started drinking, and we were playing the midnight game, and we make the finals of the midnight game, and we were playing against, I think, Adam Grossack in the finals of this thing. And on the last board of the midnight event, we were like 6 or 7 drinks in or something, and he and his partner bid a slam, and I think I had 2 aces and Jack 10 fourth of trumps, and didn't double because I just didn't care. And not doubling this slam cost the event. And that hand haunts me. Like 7 years later, I'm still thinking about like, what was I doing? Like, how do I not double this?
Midnights.
Yeah, in the damn midnights that day, I was so upset. I'm still upset about it. It's hard not to focus on the silly stuff. Particularly when there's so much pressure when you have a lead.
Yeah.
The come from behind wins are wonderful Cinderella stories or something, but when you're leading, all you can do is chuck it, right? And actually, in 2016, when we were about to win the mix for the first time, we went into the final set with a big lead, and our first 10 rounds or 10 boards, I think, were just, the absolute pits. I thought we had blown the entire lead at that point. And we turned it around. I don't know. I never went back and looked at if we had pulled the fire alarm at that point, if we would still have had it. But, I think I passed Jenni in like a 5-no trump pick a slam and had to sit there as dummy and watch her go down 6. Something in 5. It was just stuff like that. And I was like shaking. I was so nervous. And it was still happening in the fast pairs for sure. We didn't turn that one around, but I don't know. I say it sounds a lot like sour grapes, I guess.
What were people saying to you when you won the Mott-Smith?
Well, it wasn't really known until very few people figured it out while we were still there,
right?
Because I don't think anybody there's not like a big ceremony or presentation or anything. But a few people did. I was at the bar. I remember I was talking to Zach Grossack, who won it last year with Michael Rosenberg. He was pretty excited for me. I'd been sharing some hands with him the whole week, and he was really excited about it. But yeah, there was not a lot of it. I had to catch a 5:30 a.m. flight, so it's not like I was up partying or anything. And mostly what I did was went back to my hotel room and went over all the hands for the day with my roommates.
What did Weinstein say about winning it, or Gavin?
They had some very hearty congratulations, and I don't know. Maybe they didn't think of me as a real bridge player now. I'm not sure. But Gavin wants to commentate the trials with me. It's
Is that a paid gig?
We didn't discuss it. I'll have to up my hourly rate, I guess.
A little bit of trivia for the Setting Trick listeners.
maybe I'll ask this to you. Who did I play my first NABC event with?
First NABC event?
Yeah,
Well, I don't know if it was your first, but it might have been me.
it was you. Yeah,
Yeah, was it the Imp Pairs?
yeah, the Imp Parrish in 2012,
Oh wow,
Memphis. That was my first national event.
2012 in Memphis.
Yeah,
Did we
we
win?
almost qualified.
Did we?
We were close. No, we were close to qualifying.
Yeah,
We did not.
we played a
But,
couple of national events, right? We made the last day of a Swiss once, you and I, and we played the Vanderbilt, I think.
No, we
One
played
year.
the. I hired you, so we played as friends in Memphis. That was the only event we played. Well, we played the like a compact KO the next day with I think Tree and Terry as our teammates,
Sounds familiar.
and then I hired you for the next national to be my partner in Philadelphia,
Yeah,
and we played the Spin Gold.
the Spin Gold. That's right. That's right. That event produced my third worst result of all time. But it was on a single board.
Oh, the Spin Gold.
My lifetime, yeah, third largest negative score when declaring.
Well, I must have been your partner then.
Oh yeah, you were the
Well,
dummy.
I don't remember.
It was the last hand we played 64 boards against was it Carolyn Lynch's team, I think.
No, ish. It was Leslie Amoyle's team.
Okay. Well, the only thing I really remember about it was I'm pretty sure Eddie Wold was on the other team, which is why I thought it might have been Carolyn. But because he was in my seat at the other table, and the reason I know that is because you and I freely bid up to a pretty normal looking 3-no trump, looking at our hands, but Ish on opening lead doubled 3-no trump out of nowhere, like he'd taken no calls. He's on lead and he doubles. It's not like, you know, the guy on your right doubles, he wants a weird lead or something. No, he's just like, I'm on lead and he can't make 3-no. Okay, so he doubles and makes a lead, and I'm looking at the dummy, and I'm like it was sort of a weird lead. I was looking at it, I was like, well, and then I like constructed some layout where I was like, oh, well, if this is happening, I think I can make this. Like I could have just won the thing and cashed out for, I think, down 1, but that doesn't seem right. You know, I want that 750. And anyway, I took the first trick, and that was it. In my attempt to make it, I went minus 2,000. They took
Wow.
all the rest of the tricks after trick 1, and weirdly, the same exact auction happened at the other table. So Eddie Wold finds himself in 3-no doubled. One of the Bulgarians just hit him at 3-no. I mean, I don't even know what the guy's hand was. We're doubling 3-no was so obvious. But they made a more normal lead, and Eddie looked at the dummy and said, "Okay, I'm just down 2." He said, "I have these 7 tricks, and that's it." So he just claims minus 500, and he's all sad about it. Then they compare, and then later that day, he and I were in an elevator together. We're going up and up and up, and he waits for all the other people to get off. I think we went way past his floor. Once it's just the two of us, he says, "Okay, can I ask you please how the play went?" It was 3-no, because he's trying to figure out like how on earth they won like 1,000 imps on this board.
Right.
And I said, well, I got the Jack of Diamonds lead or whatever it was. And he thinks about it for a second. He says, "Oh, you tried to make it?" So, yeah. I'm like, "Oh yeah, that'll do it." So, yeah, minus 2,000. Third worst result as declarer.
Impressed that you have those available.
Well,
Like you have a record of them.
I mean, scores at minus 2,000 and above, one would hope they should stand out in your mind, right? If you have so many of them that they all kind of blend together, then maybe you're not doing something right. Yeah, I went for 2,800 at a sectional. I wrote a whole story about that. That was the Flin Flon sectional. That's how I won the Cat's Ass Trophy. That's on Bridge Winners. And that was my second worst result. My worst result of all time, since you asked, was at my very first nationals ever. I was playing with Brian Freiberger. who no one has ever heard of. I think he quit bridge. He went on to, I think he founded Invisalign.
Wow.
But a little weird bit of trivia, but I was a grad student at Stanford. He was a grad student at Stanford. So we went down to Anaheim. I think this was in 99 or 2000 or something. And we find ourselves playing the border match against, and we play 2 boards against Max Hardy.
Yeah.
And so my left-hand opponent opens a diamond, I think, a spade. Opens a spade, and my partner overcalls 3 clubs.
Okay.
And I think maybe right, he made it a negative double. And I look down at my hand; it's just this blur of small cards that includes 6 clubs.
Wow.
And I'm like, holy shit! I got to do something here. So I bid 5 clubs, and it goes double. And Brian removes this to 5 diamonds. This gets doubled immediately, and I'm too new at bridge. I don't know what's going on. Like, it would never occur to me. It sounds like he's psyched 3 clubs, right? Just on the face of it. But this didn't occur to me. And I was like, man, I don't know what's going on, but I don't want to put this dummy down in 5 clubs doubled. I still have all these, in 5 diamonds doubled, right? I still have all these clubs. He showed clubs. So I bid 6 clubs. And it goes double, and finally Brian passes, and it goes past. And then I realize what's going on. What's going on is Brian and I had been up till like 2 or 3 in the morning reading Max Hardy's book about 2-suited overcalls. Max is at our table. And, Max is advocating, things like top and bottom cubids and equal level correction, and something called Roman jump overcalls, where when they open a minor, you jump to 3 of the other minor to show that minor in hearts. And I finally worked out that Brian has like mixed this up, and he has red suits somehow, and I'm in 6 clubs doubled. And so I said, well, okay, it's border match, and I've got a story already, so why not ship this back? So I redouble. And this passes back to Max's client, who now starts to think like forever because she has a club void. Right? And so she's just thinking. I'm trying to keep my best poker face. Like, if I had had a hoodie and sunglasses or something, I would have turtled up. Eventually, she just decides to pass, and I was like, okay, and I go minus 5,200.
Oh my god!
I mean, it was whatever. Like, partner just has like 11 red cards or something. I took maybe 1 or 2 trump tricks, and that's it. And then, so we're all having a good time about this. And then on the companion board of this same set, I open a club, and it goes pass, and my partner responds a diamond, and I alert. And they're like, what's that? And so I said, well, it could be a doubleton. And they're like, what? Like, what hand responds a diamond to a club on a doubleton? I said, well, if he's 3-3-2-5 and has like 6 or 7 points, he might not want to bid 3 clubs, and we play that 1 no trump shows 8, and so like sometimes you have to fudge with a diamond. And Max looks at me and he says, what the hell system is this? And I said, Max, it's yours. And I produced, so from under my seat, I produced his yellow book on 2/1, and I opened it up to because I think the only bridge book I had been reading. And I was like, look, it says here, and it even says Max was like a famous national director. I said, it even says here that you have to alert the 1 diamond bid. And I showed it to him, and his client is laughing and laughing and laughing because Max doesn't know his own stupid system. Like, I've memorized this book, Max. Like, this is one of the few things I know is that I'm supposed to alert a diamond. Yeah, we did not win the BAM, but they had a couple of good boards off. He signed my book.
Teammates?
He signed my book too. He was all excited. He's like, "All right, I got to sign this book."
Who are your teammates? Just people you found at the
Oh,
partnership?
I think they were Stanford people. I honestly don't remember, but it's entirely possible that they were just friends of ours from Stanford. There was, I started playing it in grad school, and so there was like a small group of people there who were, perfectly competent bridge players, and they were willing to put up with me being a total noob.
There's a story in your well that you, first time you played bridge, you were trying to play backgammon on Yahoo. And you clicked on bridge by mistake. And then the most amazing part of this, in my view, is the next day you went to the local bridge club.
Oh yeah, it was. So there were a lot of the students in my lab in grad school were really into backgammon, and they were all playing on Yahoo. And I didn't know anything about backgammon, but I didn't want to be left out of whatever the cool kids were doing. So I said I want to go play backgammon. So I got on Yahoo and I like misclicked on bridge, basically. And I find myself, but I didn't fully realize I was just like, go to this table. You know, I was just going to drop in cold to a backgammon game online, as if that was going to go well. And I find myself sitting at a bridge table with 3 strangers. I'm like, oh no, this isn't backgammon. What do I do? And so I said, sorry, like I'm like chatting to these people. This is in 1998 or something. Chatting to these people. I'm like, I'm in the wrong place, but this looks really neat. Like, what is this? And I said, I want to learn more about this. I said, are there books I can read? What should I do? And the guy at the table told me that he said I should get 2 books. He said I should get Common Sense Bidding by Bill Root. Good old fashioned 16 to 18, no trumps, no transfers, nothing, just like, you know, old school 1950s Bill Root bridge. And he told me to also get The Law of Total Tricks, which is like a terrible recommendation for a novice, right? Like completely incomprehensible to someone who doesn't even know how bidding works. So he recommends these books, and I went and I found them at the local bookstore, amazingly, and bought them and looked at them, and I said, okay, I don't understand any of this. And so I wandered into the Palo Alto Bridge Club because I looked it up, and I called them, and I said, I don't know anything about bridge, but I would like to fix that. And they said, oh, we have a 49er game. It's for people with 49 or fewer master points. Just come on down. We'll get you a partner. Okay. So yeah, I showed up, and it was a great game. Everyone there was really friendly. I mean, I was young. I was younger. The second youngest person there was like at least 40 years older than me. But they were all really excited to see someone there who, was vital. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it was run by this wonderful guy named Walter Miller, who gave a lesson before every game, and like he had food, and it was great. And I started trying to pick up the game that way, and then at some point I had accumulated like 20 or so master points, and a friend of mine bought me for my birthday that year, bought me like a playing lesson with Walter. And so we go down to the Santa Clara Regional, and he's like, okay, you know, he had like 9,000 master points. He's like, so, you know, we're going to have to play in like the AX pairs.
Yeah.
He's like, and we're going to get slaughtered, and that's okay. Like, don't worry about it. We're here to learn. I said, fine.
I think I know what's coming. I think I know
So
what's coming.
we play in the AX pairs, and we win the goddamn thing. We had like 263%, which makes me now ineligible for his club, right? Because I won like 34 gold points, and it puts me over the 50-point mark, and I'm like, oh no, like I can't. What now? And so he said, well, he said, what we should do is we should start a 199er club, because they were having a lot of problems actually with
Graduating people.
Well, either people would graduate out of the 49er club, or they didn't want to graduate out of the 49er club, because the 49er club was really friendly,
right?
And everyone was so nice. But then you have to play in the open game where everyone's a jerk, and nobody wanted to do that. And so what they would do is they would drop out of the ACBL when they got over 40 points or so the league wouldn't track their master points anymore, and they would all be forever eligible for the 49er club. So he had me take the director exam, and then he and I like started running the 199er club together, because nobody really cares in a 199er game if the director is playing in the game, right? And so we sort of co-ran the game, and he hooked me up with a new partner who had also recently graduated from the 49er club, named Barbara Sonsini, who you may know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I know Barbara. I knew Barbara well.
Yeah, so she was also cutting her teeth in the 49er club and graduated from it like maybe, I don't know, a year before me. And he's like, yeah, you should play with Barbara. And so I played with Barbara for like a year or two. We used to fly all over the place. We went to like the Palm Springs Regional. I stayed at her house in the Vintage Club. That was wild. And then, you know, I mean, obviously she outgrew me quickly and started playing on the best teams. But
Yeah, Barbara was a character. I enjoyed my relationship with her. It was cut short, but definitely love to needle Barbara.
yeah, it was such a great part of the country to learn bridge in, because the Northern California at the time had multiple club games a day, and there was at least 2 sectionals every month.
Wow.
Within driving distance. I mean, you know, if you were willing to go as far as Sacramento, and there were regionals all over the place. There was Monterey and Santa Clara, and Sacramento had a regional, Oakland, and there was a nearby nationals because Anaheim was a year later. So yeah, we played bridge all the time.
And then it was really a hotbed, you know, like more recently with Silicon Valley Youth Bridge. But that was long after you left. It's funny to me that you went to a club the day after you learned, because I learned how to play bridge, and it took me 7 years.
Well, I didn't know what else to do. I mean, like, I had these books, and I couldn't really make much sense of them. And I was like, I need to talk to somebody, and I didn't. You know, it's funny. It didn't even occur to me that there might be a Stanford Bridge Club, which there was.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And eventually I found that and went over there, and I met several regular partners there, including Adam Meyerson, who, I don't know if you know him, but he's regular on Bridge Winners, and he's often at nationals. And then so I actually played on the Stanford collegiate team at some point. And, you know, we went to I don't remember where it was, but that's where I met Noble Shore, who became a partner of mine. He was actually my graduate student. So when I got my PhD, I went to go teach at the University of Virginia, and then at some point, Noble was trying to figure out what to do with his life, and I said, "Why don't you just come be my grad student, and like we could work on bridge, like we'll just play bridge all the time." and you could like do research on computer bridge, and I'll pay for it. Like I had some money burning a hole in my pocket from the university, and I didn't know what to do with it. He said, "Great." So he showed up, and we played a really unhealthy amount of bridge.
That was right when I started going to the club, because I remember you and Noble would come sometimes. And Noble had played on one of the junior teams, like he played in the Junior World Championships. And I remember, I didn't really get to know you guys, even though you and I are the same age. Yeah. But I didn't really get to know you till later.
I had a great time playing with him. We were playing a really weird homebrew system. We were playing like a strong 1 diamond opener that was really upset people. Because we didn't have any master points, right? Like we thought we knew what we were doing, right? We thought we were hot stuff, but we really had no idea. And but we were playing this weird homebrew system that I wrote up all the notes for. We had good results with it. I won my very first bracket 1 knockout playing this weird system. But that was the thing; like the league wouldn't let us play up. And so we frequently found ourselves playing in like bracket 6 or 7.
Yeah.
And we would sit down and pre-alert people like, "Hey, we play a strong 1 diamond system," and you know, this would almost inevitably result in people losing their minds and yelling for the director, and then frequently withdrawing at the half. And we're like, you know, so we felt bad because we don't want to ruin people's experience with bridge table. But we also don't want to just play standard American, you know, yellow card because people are upset. So we just kept begging the directors to let us play up, and they wouldn't, and they wouldn't, and they wouldn't. They said, "Look, like everyone is complaining to you about us. Like, let us do it." They wouldn't do it. And then eventually, there was a tournament where Noble and I it was just the 2 of us. This was at Hunt Valley, I think in 2004. And we were just playing pairs all week, and we had signed up for yet another pair game. And then as the game is about to start, these 2 old people run up to us. I didn't know anybody. They run up to us, and they're like, "Hey, can you guys play a team game?" like their team had fallen apart at the last second and they were panicking. And we said, sure. And so we sold our entry back, and they said, we're going to have to play bracket 1. Is that okay? And we're like, yeah, like that's exactly what we want to do. Great.
Yeah.
So we sit down to play bracket 1, and it's the first time really I think I'd ever played a bracket 1 knockout. And our first round opponents were nobody that I had heard of, but we won.
Yeah.
And then in the second round, we played against and beat Paul Soloway's team, which was wild. I had like 450 master points at the time, and Noble was about the same. And so we're like, oh wow, it's semifinals, and we realized we looked at the semifinals was like Berkowitz and Michael Seaman, and this crazy team. And as they're driving back, I think I was staying at Noble's parents' house with him. We're driving back there, and I said, wow, it's amazing. We like blew through these two teams playing with like random people I've never heard of. And he said, what do you mean random people? Our teammate is Mike Capoletti Sr. Like, what? What do you mean? So Capoletti was playing with, he had a client, and I don't know what happened with some emergency with their team, but the client was like, I don't want to play the pair game.
Yeah.
Like, just find a warm body to
Yeah.
play teams. I don't care. So, okay. So we go back, and we somehow win this third round. And then we find ourselves playing against Carolyn Lynch. So we've got Maxstroth, Rodwell, Eddie Wold, Mike Purcell,
Oh my God.
Carolyn, and I don't remember who Carolyn's partner was, but it's this six-person team.
Wow.
And we're playing our stupid strong diamond system. It made
Oh my
no sense.
God. Oh my God.
And at the half, we find ourselves up like 56 imps or something against this team. It was just absolutely wild. Like, there were hands where Noble and I bid and made games on cards where Meckwell at the other table were not in the auction. It's just like completely crazy stuff going on. But then, okay, so they put in their 4 best players, and when all the smoke is cleared, we had won by 9. And then we discover that there's some sort of kerfuffle going on about some hand. And they're like talking to the director about it. They're very upset. And I will never forget this hand. I had the details aren't super important, but I had like 6 clubs. I was like 2, 2, 2, 3, 6.
Yeah.
I had 6 clubs and maybe like a 9 count or something.
Yeah.
So I opened 3 clubs, and it goes pass, and Noble bids 3 spades. Oh, I had 3 spades. I was 3, 2, 2, 6. So it goes 3 clubs, pass, 3 spades, pass. I'm like, okay, what do I know? I raised to 4 spades. And now Eddie Wold on my left, who couldn't act over 3 clubs, bids 4 no trump. Okay, it goes pass, and Mike Purcell doesn't know what's going on either, so he tries 5 clubs just to kick the partner back to Eddie, and Eddie bids 5 diamonds. And I think Mike now works out that Eddie must have red suits, and so he corrects to 5 hearts, and it goes all pass, and I'm on lead. And I'm like, well, it sure sounds like Dummy's got a million red cards. So I don't think I'm going to lead a spade. Like, that doesn't seem productive, even though it's our suit. So I led a club. I figured partner's probably pretty short in clubs. What do I know? But it turns out that today my partner has psyched his 3 spade bid and picked off Mike Purcell's like ace queen jack 9th of spades or something. He's just like his 9 card spade suit. And it turns out the club lead is the only lead that beats the contract. And they're very upset about this because they had a very different. This was like a 15 imp swing. And if I lead a spade, they make 5 hearts and the club lead beats 5 hearts.
Right.
So they're very upset about this, and they're like talking to the director, and the director, I think wisely, sort of declines to make a ruling. Like, I don't think this is really legal, but the director says, look, whatever side I rule in, the other side's going to appeal this ruling. And I don't really feel like I want to have. He's like, I'm just going to refer you guys to a committee, rather than having like an appealing side. And I've mentioned this to some direct. I think I've told this story to Jenni, and Jenni's like, he can't do that. Like, what does that even? But I think it was a smart PR move. So we get in front of this committee, and this is when I met Jeff Roman for the first time, because Jeff was on the committee. And first, Mextroth gets up there and gives like 15 reasons why Club Lead is unsupported by bridge logic. That was his phrase, unsupported by bridge logic. And, I'm sweating, right? Like all these people I've only ever read about are now here calling me an idiot. And I do remember what I said to the committee. Jeff says, "Can you explain why you led a club?" And I said, "I'll try." I said, "But before I do that," I said, I'm certainly not going to argue with Jeff Baxtroth about bridge logic, but what I will tell the committee is if I win this appeal, I'm going to become a Bronze Life Master today. So let's keep that in mind." Right? This is going to put me over 500 big old points. Now,
my God.
These poor guys, like they...
two all-time winning Master Point leaders, Basel and Mextroth.
Yeah. So they're sitting there, they're like, they had no idea who. All they know is we're on Capoletti's team, right?
Yeah.
They don't think we're some clowns from nowhere. And so they're like, oh, God, like, why are we in this committee? They seem pretty embarrassed at this point. And so I tried to explain my reasoning for leading a club. And so I think Jeff said I was on a team with Jeff Roman recently, and I was telling him the story. He didn't remember this at all, but I do remember what Jeff did. So eventually Jeff hears this story, and he's like, "Okay, so what was the result of the match?" And I said, "We won by 9." And he said, "Okay, I'm going to assign you an 8-imp procedural penalty for something fishy happening." I'm like, okay, sounds good. Yeah. Great. Again, also not a legal thing, right? Like he can't do that. But, I think we all understand what he's trying to do. I still have the bracket sheet for that. It's framed. I have it on my wall downstairs.
Oh
it's
my God!
My prize.
You got to
possession.
give me a picture. You got to take a picture of that.
I will. Yeah, it's hanging up.
Oh man! Do you know if Walter Miller's still alive?
I don't think so. I don't think he is. I would be pretty surprised. I mean, he was getting on in years, and he smoked more than any human being I have ever met, and that includes a lot of bridge players, and that's saying a lot. So I would be pretty surprised, but I'll look into it. I mean, if he is, he's.
I'm sure somebody listening to this will know.
Yeah, for sure.
How did you get recruited to UVA?
UVA was just one of the schools that I applied to teach at when I finished. So I don't know that I was recruited to UVA, but when I finished my PhD, that's when you got to decide what kind of job you want, and if it's academics, there's a whole application process. And I wanted to live on the East Coast. I had grown up in Washington, D.C., and I preferred it to the West Coast. I found the weather boring, and I wanted seasons and snow days and stuff. So I applied to a bunch of schools up and down the East Coast and interviewed at, I think, 6 different places, and I had a number of offers. But I chose UVA, I think I had 4 job offers. I chose UVA because, first of all, my wife at the time had a bunch of family in Charlottesville, which was a non-zero consideration. And also, I felt like I could achieve a reasonable work-life balance at UVA. Like I wasn't going to kill myself trying desperately to get tenure, but I could still do good work. It wasn't like going to, like a community college where you can't, I wanted to do research. And so you have to be in an environment where the students are of a certain caliber that they can support your research. But I didn't necessarily want to find myself at a place where that was going to be all I could possibly do. And so UVA was.
What department were you in here?
I taught computer science in the engineering school. I did most of my research was in computer graphics.
Okay, so before we completely leave Stanford, and we're going to get to your computer graphics notoriety,
Sure.
but I have told this story many times of yours.
Okay.
So you and we're both at the regional in Virginia Beach, probably in like 2013 or 14. We're not playing together, but we're both there. And I happen upon, I think you and Rob Brady, who I played with in Memphis also, but that has nothing to do with the story. So I run into the two of you guys having breakfast at a restaurant before that day of play is going to start. And I remember you tell me, that you got a new job at Google.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Like, how'd you get the job? And you said, well, I I finally like got in touch with Sergey, and he set me up. And I said, Sergey, you know Sergey Brin? And you said, yeah, we were at graduate school together. And now I'll let you take it from here about the start of Google and Greg Humphreys' role in that.
or lack thereof. Yeah. So, but by the way, I didn't like nepotism my way into Google. I had a totally normal job interview at Google. I do think that Sergey or possibly Larry Page had to intervene at some point because Google doesn't normally have remote people. And like I live in Virginia and there's no office around here.
Right.
So that they may have had to get involved at some point is my understanding. But yeah, when we were in grad school, I mean, Larry Page and Sergey Brin were they were grad students in the same, they were just a few doors down doing research on whatever they were doing. And Google was at some point was google.stanford.edu, right? I think it started as just like a computer under one of their desks or something that they were running this stuff on. And then at some point in the late 90s, they decided that they were going to quit school and turn it into a business venture. And they went around asking people if anyone wanted to come with them. Like I wasn't the only person they asked.
Yeah.
It's not like I was, but and we asked them like, well, I asked them anyway. I was like, well, okay, how are you going to make money? And they said, we don't know. Like, okay, what's the exit strategy here? Like, are we going to sell to Yahoo? What's the plan? No. We want to go public. It's a big company. Okay, but how are you going to make money? Like, because it was just search. That's all they had was just like a way. They had the PageRank algorithm, which, by the way, the original Google search algorithm is called PageRank. And I think everyone thinks it's because it ranks web pages, but it's not. It's because it's named after Larry. His name is Larry Page. It was just PageRank. It's his ranking algorithm. Just a coincidence that it ranked web pages. And it's like, I don't understand. And at some point, I think one of them, I think it was Sergey, because this is how Sergey talks. He's like, look, dude, like, all we know is that this is better than school. We're going to do something awesome. It's going to be way more fun than going to school. And, they didn't know how they were going to make money or how they were going to succeed, but they were very determined, and they, it's all pretty well documented. They racked up a huge amount of credit card debt and started building racks of servers in somebody's garage somewhere. Pretty standard Silicon Valley story. Like, take out a few $100,000 in credit card debt. That's what you have to be at a point in your life where you can accept that kind of personal risk. Let's see, if you rack up $200,000 or $300,000 in credit card debt to build a bunch of servers in your garage for your idea, and it goes nowhere, or you never get funding. Well, what do you do with $300,000 in credit card debt? You declare bankruptcy, right? Like, and they take everything. But when you're in your early 20s and you're renting an apartment and you have a beater or a car, they can't take anything from you except your credit score. And like, who cares?
Yeah.
Right. That's the attitude. It's really like, who cares? We'll just move on to the next venture. And then maybe the next venture is a little harder because you can't get $300,000 in credit now because you've just declared bankruptcy, but someone else can. You'll have a co-founder, and it's fine. And now, so I think about that, and I think about now, like, I'm in my 40s, and I have kids, and I have a house and a mortgage and, like, stuff and things that I want to preserve, right? And so my tolerance for risk now is much lower. If that was the time to do it.
Yeah.
Oops. Hindsight. Every now and then I torture myself by going and looking like, I wonder who was employee number 3 at Google. I wonder what they're worth. But also it's important to have some perspective on this stuff too. Like, Google or any tech company, like, for every tech company that becomes Google, of which there are a dozen at most.
Yeah.
There are thousands that you've never heard of.
Yeah.
Right? That had people that were equally passionate and, maybe they had a really good idea and it just didn't work out for whatever reason. And so involving a different group of people at the beginning of a company like Google, could easily have led to a very different outcome. So I did actually, as you said, I ended up working at Google much, much, much later. When you go work at Google now that it's this big company with big complicated culture, they have you wear these silly little beanies with the Google colors on them and a little propeller on top at orientation, like because all the new Googlers who are called Nooglers show up and they have all these ridiculous hats on to identify them as the new people. And I ran into Sergey after his presentation of this thing, and he sort of smiled at me and he said, "Well, better late than never." God damn it.
When I tell the story, what you told me originally was like, you're leaving grad school to do search? No, thank you.
Yeah, well, I think everyone said no. Right? Like, it's nobody. Everyone was like, "What?" Like, because they didn't know how they were going to make money. I mean, it took them, I don't know how many years it took them for someone. I think it might have actually been Eric Veach figured out, like, you guys should sell advertising. Like, that'd be cool. You have a lot of eyeballs on these things. I bet we could tailor the ads to those eyeballs, and that would probably turn the advertising industry on its head. And they're like, "Oh yeah, that's how we're going to make money." Okay. But yeah, it took him a while.